Welcome to X-Connect the show. My name is Kareem Kanji. I will be your host for today. X-Connect, for those of you who don't know, is designed to explore how the relationship between a specific industry has been and is being affected by technology and social media. X-Connect is a proud project of Third Ocean. Check us out at thirdocean.com. Thank you for joining us today. To watch past and future episodes, check us out on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/XConnectTV. Before we get started, let's thank a few people. First of all, thank you to Big Time Design and Communications for their design and web work, Sticker U, Steam Whistle, and of course Shadaling Chung, our producer on the other end of the camera there. If you want to be an X-Connect supporter, please send us an email, xconnect@thirdocean.com. Now, from now until June the 11th, we're going to be taking on the education sector with our EDU Connect series, in which X-Connect will be profiling and interviewing various industry insiders and professionals within the education and technology space. Check us out at educonnect.eventbrite.com. I'm excited about today's guest. When I first met these guys, maybe a year and a half, a couple of years ago, at an event in Toronto, I got very angry that they didn't launch 10 years earlier when I was in school studying. Please welcome Gabriel Chan. How you doing?
I'm good.
Co-founder, and it says Chief Ninja Officer.
Yes.
At NoteWagon. So what does Chief Ninja Officer do?
So we have a team of ninjas,
Okay.
and we get them to do all these tasks here and there.
Nice.
What needs to be done to get the job done.
Perfect.
Our team believes in getting things done, and that's the essence of ninjas.
Ninjas, excellent.
Send them on, they get the job done.
Now,
I'm the chief of the ninjas.
you're in charge of other people getting the work done.
Well, yeah, we get a lot of work done as well. Obviously, they have somebody to look up to.
For sure. Now, your company, NoteWagon, let me turn it around and maybe you can zoom in on the website there. But NoteWagon.com, why don't you give us the rundown on what it is today?
So basically, NoteWagon is a site for students to interact with each other and learn from each other.
Okay.
Our first iteration is basically a note marketplace,
Okay.
which means there are students that are very good at taking notes in class or making study guides in libraries or doing exam practice problems, etc. So the sky's the limit. And they have all these materials, and they're implicitly experts at these at their own knowledge space. And then they're on the other side, there are like students who don't know what the heck is going on. So I hope I'm allowed to say heck. So,
fine.
And they're obviously in need of help because it's a do or die when exam time comes. So we put these two groups of students together, and that's NoteWagon, a place for them to do these interactions. And that's the basis of what NoteWagon started off as.
Okay.
You met us that while back.
Yeah.
Now we're moving on further and kind of turning this learning experience into a social one, because we believe that inherently people learn better when it's a social environment.
Okay.
And there are a lot of characteristics of social learning that already exist in the real world. For example, people group together in study groups. They would like ask the professors in groups or collaborate on projects. So we're trying to transplant as much of this experience onto NoteWagon and then the whole platform, the Panda platform. We haven't really decided on a name yet, but
Okay.
yeah.
Well, the Panda's front and center there on the website. So I want to talk more about the social learning experience, but I really want to find out, like, what was the pain point back when you and Safe and your team decided to start NoteWagon? What was going on? What were you guys thinking? You know, who was the person that didn't go to class?
Obviously, it was Safe.
Safe didn't go to class.
I actually didn't go to class either, but I had other ways of dealing with it.
Okay.
I was more of like the note taker type of student, whereas Safe was more of the note buyer type of student. And naturally, we found our ways and learned more about the characteristics of the marketplace. Because I would have people buying me lunch just so that they could photocopy my notes.
Yeah.
Or, you know, they'll take me out for dinner if I sit down with them and teach them, like, you know, the whole differential equation course in 2 hours. And Safe, on the other hand, is always like, you know, don't understand these concepts. He'll go around and say, dude, can I borrow your notes? Can I do this? Can I do that? So he discovered an underground economy where people would actually package notes together or would just sell them for real cash, whereas I'm doing them for social capital. So that's the merger of the first No Wagon, where it's we realized that there is a real economy that can be brought up and put online. Kind of like how Facebook put our social experiences online, and how eBay opened up like the world's shelves and put everything online.
Interesting. One of the questions that I'm sure comes up a lot is this some sort of plagiarism? Is this something that the schools and the education system frowns upon because it's rewarding in a sense, laziness or skipping class? What are your thoughts on that? On I guess these two issues. One of, is this a form of plagiarism? And number two, is it rewarding people for skipping?
Well, No Wagon doesn't ever reward plagiarizers or plagiarists, or whatever you call them. So we have a flagging system and a rating system, so that if the content is not good, we take immediate action. Whether it's a copyright violation, students and teachers both use No Wagon, so they're kind of like our frontline policing. And when we do find people that are plagiarizing, we do take heavy action, like suspending accounts and taking tokens that were earned. On the other hand, good content and bad content eventually filters themselves, because you got like the best rated ones floating to the top of search results and the listings and all that stuff. So on the skipping class, we obviously don't condone skipping class, but people learn in various ways, and that is really the problem that education is facing right now. So far, it's like basically one set of delivery, which is like the whole chalk and talk broadcast one-way delivery system. But students have a very diverse learning styles, right? Like some people learn better listening to lectures, right? Some people learn better by reading. Some people learn better by doing, and obviously everything in between, right? And in order for us to accommodate for all these diverse learning styles, that's why we're putting peers to peers together, because they'll find eventually their right teacher that can bridge them to the next step. And that's what No Wagon is. It's a supplement for your learning.
Excellent. So now you guys have raised capital, and I'm very curious, and sometimes with a lot of entrepreneurs, when they raise, it's validation for them. Or when they're making sales, that's validation for them. What was the validation moment for No Wagon? When you knew, like I'm sure you believed as you were building it, people are going to use this. There's going to be traction. But when did you know that, okay, there is a business here?
Well, when we saw money coming in. I mean, when people are actually paying like real cash for items, then you know that this is probably a good basis for a business. There are a lot of startups out there that hope to monetize down the road, which is totally fine. I mean, if you build something of value, you'll definitely monetize. For us, the value was hit already, and because we hit an immediate pain point, which is students don't understand certain things, and they'll do whatever it takes to get to that level of understanding. And most of it is going to be swapping of reading materials. Whether it's class notes, most of it is study guides and chapter summaries. Like if I'm studying in the library and I make a summary for myself, that I either like donate it to the recycling bin or I donate it to my friends. Why not put it online and actually make
put it online, make some extra
cash? People don't realize that they can do this. But now that we have a platform that they can do this, they realize, oh my god, after like a week I'm making like 10, 20, I'm actually covering like my meals. This is awesome.
Have you had that conversation with people saying, I'm actually making money on this thing? I know No Wagon's making, creating...
There was a time when I was earning more on No Wagon than I was earning in my own startup.
Wow. So you're making... Okay. So you had a decision there. Do I want to keep on running the startup?
Well, obviously the startup is going to grow. But my point being, and we also have testimonials from real people, by the way, that actually, earned a lot of money on this. If you scroll down, you'll see it. And that last girl there, I personally helped her.
This one right here?
Yep. She lost everything when her MacBook died.
Okay.
And then she's like, oh, I uploaded everything on No Wagon, but I don't want to buy them for myself, obviously. Well, okay, no problem. We'll just send them back to you. So we got another idea, which is basically market this as kind of like the one-stop studying shop.
Your personal cloud for your notes.
Basically, yeah, your personal library, your virtual library.
All right.
Whenever you need to study for anything, you just go to NoteWagon, go to that place, and then you have all the materials you need. If you don't have the materials, then you can either upload them or you can buy them from the marketplace. And then Converse also works as well. Whatever you're studying off of, you think that is valuable, put them on the marketplace. Maybe you'll earn something out of it.
Interesting.
So that is the next evolution of learning.
Okay, you guys. So let's talk about that now with the whole social learning aspect. Why? What happened? Was it this? Was it Lily? I guess. Yeah. Was it Lily Chan's experience? Saying, okay, maybe there's something more here, or what happened that you guys said, okay, we need to add to this. We need to have this more of a social learning platform rather than just an exchange.
Well, what we realized is that we all, whenever we need to study, go to our notebooks first or go to our textbook. There's always one point of contact. And what happened in this case is just helped us realize this back to the roots of how students behave. And at the end of the day, the marketplace is only so valuable if it doesn't help you, pass school. That's pretty much everyone's objective, or do well, or learn something, right? So. And at the core of everything is study. So if we can help everybody study better, then naturally our platform is going to grow at a much faster organic rate.
Interesting. Do you have the ability to, have you thought about uploading and having available actual textbooks on NoteWagon?
So we have partnerships with textbook rental companies.
Okay.
And they expose their APIs to us, and we have to integrate these into our next release of the product. But basically, what we're doing with those APIs is people can write chapter summaries. They obviously tie to a textbook. And we can pull the textbook's title or ISBN. So if they're reading some summary, we're like, hey, by the way, we don't have this textbook, come rent it from us. Or if you have this textbook, so sell it on this market. So we obviously don't want to get into the whole textbook business.
Sure.
Nor do we want to potentially infringe on textbooks and whatever, right?
Yeah.
That's a totally different ballgame.
Sure.
And sure, it's part of the students' studying habits. All we're doing is giving it another gateway. But we're still the primary place. Like if you go study, let's say this is a library, and we're going to sit down and study, we're going to open our laptops, we're probably going to go on Facebook, but after that, go actually to study, we're going to open our files, our own lecture notes, or we'll have a notebook, and we'll flip to the chapter we need to study.
Sure.
So this whole action tells me that there needs to be one place for you to go where there's a collection of all the stuff that you're using that you need to study, and that's what NoteWagon did.
Interesting.
And they'll branch off into all these other things textbooks, tutoring, and other types of help.
Is there a clash between those people who are hoarding notes in terms of they're making all the notes and selling them for that purpose only, and those people who are buying that are looking for shortcuts? Do you have any of these conversations at NoteWagon?
I guess you're concerned about people being overly competitive.
Yeah. Well, it's not really concerned, but I'm thinking about tools like Evernote. Which obviously you can upload notes, you can make notes on, save them and access them from your computer, your tablet, your phone, and you could also share those notes. So sort of a NoteWagon black market, so to speak. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, our experience is so much better. I mean, it's more natural. I've used Evernote before for a lot of things, and believe me, Evernote is a really good product, and it can be used for a lot of things. But Evernote is not good as we are on certain things. And what we're good at on certain things is helping students with their study. We want to own most, if not all, of the students' studying time. That excludes Facebooking, stuff.
Of course. All those other things.
In the library. But every other time, we want them somehow to be time related to NoteWagon. Because we also believe that being recent and former students, we understand this problem the best.
Of course.
And we can develop the product that is best suited. It's kind of like how Steve Jobs says, well, I want the computer to be like this. It has to be this flat. And then his engineers are like, well, no, we can't do this. And no, you have to do it because this is the way the computers are. So it's the same thing for us. We're this is the way that the studying experience should be and the learning experience should be. And we're the ones that craft it, and this is the best for you. So it doesn't matter if you're using Evernote or whatever, you eventually gravitate towards a platform and you'll get a lot of value.
Excellent. You might have some converting from Evernote to NoteWagon soon.
We're actually hoping to work with them at some point.
Well, I was going to ask you this, and I don't know if you can answer. Well, you'll tell me if you can't answer. Whether it's Evernote or some other sort of company that sees the sort of things that you guys are doing, have you had any conversations about being acquired at this early stage at all?
Oh, we definitely have suitors all the time.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if I'm allowed to speak about any of them, but you can only imagine what kind of people come and approach us, right?
Sure.
And for us, we are kind of focused on building something awesome.
Mm-hmm.
And unless the price is right, and obviously we have this number in head, they have their numbers, and if it doesn't match up, then sorry, try another day.
Talking about Price is Right, I rewatched the Dragon's Den episode that you guys were on. And by the way, I love how you probably rehearsed for so many hours, to make, people walking by and the girl sneezing on demand of a certain word. Just fantastic. But talking about the Price is Right, I believe the initial offer that Save put forward to the Dragons was 20% for $200. Is that correct? That was the initial offer. And then the final offer was like 32.5 for $250. Now, I think people now realize, when Dragon's Den first came out, people thought, wow, they closed the deal. I think people now realize afterwards that, that's just the beginning. There's a lot of due diligence, I'm sure, that both teams are involved in. And I want to get to that, but before we get there, how was that experience for you guys, for the team?
It was probably my second or third time on television, on real TV, and I realized that the show itself is not exactly reflective of real life. I mean, when you watch Survivor, you're not actually stuck on an island. There's nothing, right? So with that in mind, we know that whatever happens on the show is not necessarily going to be reflective of real life. I mean, we're shaking hands on the stage, on the stage right now, but what will actually happen when we go through that, like you said, due diligence, or when we realize, some of the more details of each other comes out, right? Maybe we're undervalued at that point, which we felt, obviously, they felt that we were overvalued, and then, after a few talks, we decided that that deal that we had negotiated on the show was not exactly valid at that point in time. So
you guys made that decision, saying, you know what, this is. Tell me about that. Who made that decision? Why was that decision made?
Well, basically, at that time, if you remember from the show, we said that our valuation was justified because we had
it's like a $1 million valuation.
We already had friends and families and a small group from Waterloo that invested in this.
Yeah.
So that justified our valuation at that point. And then the Dragons said, well, that only happened, I don't know, a few months ago. So, and you guys couldn't have grown too much since then, which is bullshit. Oops, I shouldn't have.
That's okay.
but then he's like, oh, we'll come in at that same valuation. And then that was their basis of their negotiation. So by that time, it was pretty much like a losing battle for us. And we'll see what we can salvage. Maybe if these Dragons and they can bring more value into our company, then maybe that discount is worth it, right?
Sure.
So then after we did more research on the individual Dragons, realized that the package might not be as nice as we thought it was. And then we also showed them some of our plans, and they might have had a heart attack or two. So I mean, Silicon Valley and Toronto investors are quite different animals. They look at different metrics, and we consider ourselves more of in the Valley culture, where we have high targets and high growth stakes, and they think that we should be more conservative.
Even these actual investors who are considered. I guess because they're also on television and they've created that personal brand for themselves. You found that they're very conservative as well, or look at different metrics.
They do have different personas. I probably shouldn't be busting them, but
that's okay.
They have different personas on stage, and then they're actually the real people off stage, and they were really interested in investing in us. But after all the stage antics aside, they still thought that we were a bit too aggressive in our growth, and there was a very big risk for them to take, which is fine, right?
Sure.
There are other opportunities for you guys. There are a lot of other opportunities for us. And, we just decided next time.
Interesting. And I guess it looked like a huge win, on television. In terms of, not in terms of the money that you were going to get, but a win in terms of you were able to come to some sort of an agreement, and it was like, you know, everyone shaking hands and go, man, good story.
I guess the real winner is the Canadian startup space.
I think so.
Because now we're bringing more awareness to that. Like, there's this kind of activity in Canada. It's not just like Silicon Valley just has VCs and entrepreneurs.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there was some article a few weeks back saying that Toronto is one of the top startup communities in the world.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how far along we are at that, you know, in terms of the worldwide stature, but we're definitely growing there.
Yeah.
And shows like Dragon's Den only brings out like these aspects that nobody else
really
understands, right? So in that point, you know, we're all winners.
Perfect.
I'm not to try and sound cheesy.
So outside of family, friends, have you guys raised any other rounds?
Yes, our lead investor in Silicon Valley is a guy called Scott Bannister.
Okay.
And he previously invested in Facebook and PayPal.
Okay.
And
I've heard of those two companies.
Yeah, I think they're like, you know, some startups from Silicon Valley. You might want to look them up. Yeah, so he's basically leading our round, which is going to be capped at $1 million.
Okay. For how much valuation of the company?
We're actually using a convertible note, which
Okay.
means that they're investing in the debt, and then it's going to convert to an equity at the next
At the next round.
yeah, which is going to be much bigger.
Mhm.
And right now, you know, nobody really knows what the valuation is. We think it's this. Investors can say whatever they want.
How much do you think your company's worth today?
A lot more than what it was on the Dragon's Den.
A lot more than $1 million.
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely.
Did you ever think when you start, you went to University of Waterloo?
Yes.
Did you ever think as you started at the University of Waterloo that a few years later that you would be a co-founder of a pretty cool startup that's worth maybe as much money as your parents made throughout their lifetime, or at least close to that?
Well, it's worth and liquid cash are very different things, right?
Sure.
Or assets. But,
Sure. But do you ever think that, you know, that you would have a company, that your co-founder would be down in the valley raising money, that you'd be building this pretty cool company?
Well, like my philosophy of like ninjas,
Mm-hmm.
work ninjas is like we do whatever it does to like whatever it takes to get things done.
Yeah.
And the only way to build like a great startup is to actually go down to the valley, actually like raise these millions of dollars, actually build like a crazy product and grow really fast.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, I'm not afraid to admit that I've tried before,
Sure.
and by different combinations that didn't really work out,
Mhm.
and had to like rebranch or pivot and basically reinvent myself so that I can get to this current stage, because life is a learning journey.
Yeah.
And I know that eventually I'm going to get here, and perhaps like where I am right now is not the top of what I potentially can become, or what my team could potentially become, or even what the company. Obviously, we have a long way to go.
Sure.
Right?
What was the reason for SAFE to go down to the valley? What was the purpose there? What was the thought, thinking?
The main way of thinking is because Silicon Valley is like the mecca or the center of the universe for startups, and the reason because there's very concentrated clusters of very successful people.
Mm-hmm.
By successful, I mean they've started companies and sold them for very good, decent amounts. We have a lot of venture capitalists and other funders who have had experience investing in these type of startups. Unlike, for example, I'm not trying to put down Toronto, but Toronto is primarily a financial city, so they look at very different metrics. Whereas Silicon Valley, they had this culture of innovation and a lot of daredevil risk taking with substantial return. So they obviously are onto something, and we want to jumpstart ourselves into that community. We feel that plugging into that energy is the best way for us to play. If we're going to play as the big players, we might as well start playing.
You might as well start.
Yeah.
I see on your website, let's end off here, I see on your website that you guys are hiring. What are you guys looking for right now?
Oh, always. We're always looking for good engineers.
Yeah.
People that are going to help us, spread the word
Mhm.
of Note Wagon. And we're also looking for note takers.
Note takers.
So basically, every time we go to a new school, there's a
Yeah.
problem with an empty store, right?
Mm.
people have to upload something.
Yeah.
And the way for us to kickstart this
Mm.
is to subsidize partially for like the best note takers. And so you'd be like a good student going to class all the time, taking all these great notes that everybody who is like wants a piece of.
Yeah.
Right? So you already have the incentive to sell them, right? But
Yes.
this is also an improved platform to you. So we're saying, okay, look, man, we're gonna subsidize you with a little bit more cash
Mhm.
so that upload them to the platform. So you'll see for yourself how awesome this is.
There you are.
But at the same time, we realize that we're like kickstarting this, and
Yeah.
so we're gonna pay for some of that risk.
Pay for the upfront as well.
Yeah.
Well, listen, if somebody wants to apply for this, how can they reach?
They could type jobs@notewagon.com.
Jobs at Notewagon.
jobs@notewagon.com.
There you are. We want to make sure you get that right. Gabriel, listen, all the best to you guys. Tell Safe I said hello and all the best to him down there.
Yeah, well, if he's watching this video, I'm sure he will.
Awesome.
Bye, Safe.
And I look forward to your success. Ever since I saw that presentation, I've been a fan, and I'm so excited for you to have been here. And I look forward to seeing you guys go some more. Thank you so much, Gabriel.
Well, thank you for your time, too.
Yeah, you're welcome. My name is Kareem. Thank you so much for watching. We'll talk to you soon.